We're the Vinyl Verdict. I'm Jacob.
I'm Michael.
And today we're here to talk about the Maybe I'm Amazed Soily 45. This is a little bit different. This is, I think, the first live 45 that we've ever covered to promote the Wings Over America album, which was Wings' first live tour in the US, playing huge stadium shows. The Maybe I'm Amazed side was recorded on May 24th, 1976 in Kansas City, Missouri, and it wasn't released until February of 77, the following year. Wings Over America was the fifth album to hit number 1 in the US from Wings. And the single even, this Maybe I'm Amazed single, hit number 10 in the US. Which is kind of interesting because in a way, Maybe I'm Amazed is probably one of Paul McCartney's most well-known songs from his solo career. It was never released as a single from the first album. The first album, McCartney didn't have any singles on it. So it wasn't until 7 years later, really, that the public was able to get a 45 copy. We'll maybe just cover the live version because there's a lot we could say about Maybe I'm Amazed.
It was a powerful sound, you know, they really projected, you were seeing a Beatle. I had seen George Harrison in 74, but this was really exciting. This was like more of a Beatle buzz kind of. No small reason because of the lead guitar of Jimmy McCullough, which I remember giving the whole thing an edge that you just didn't associate earlier on some years before with Wings. In a song like this live version of Maybe I'm Amazed, which I well remember was played on the radio all the time in that time. It's arranged exactly like McCartney wants it arranged. Jimmy does do on the second lead guitar fill a little complex, intricate coming down to the notes that Paul wrote, and all of a sudden the place was packed, and it was a great buzz and a lot of excitement generated around seeing him and the band. Just a cutting harder version of it, and first of all, his vocals. The vocals are certainly were never topped. It's a peak of sorts for him in that live Wings stuff. The way he sings, not just the melody, but the way he does all the scat singing and the filling in and all. Just unbelievable. An octave going up octaves was nothing to him at that time.
By the time Wings Over America was happening, this was an old song from McCartney. This was from before Wings, when he was just recording everything himself. It was punching above its weight on his first solo album and as a back to basics home studio recording. Actually, and it wasn't really a home studio recording. It was one of the songs on McCartney that got a lot of studio overdubs and reworking. So I think he always maybe saw something bigger for it, and that's why he performed it live. And it was, the only song from McCartney performed live. I think Every Night he brought in 79 on that tour, but at this time it was really the only one from Ram or McCartney, so the only pre-Wings song that was really part of this. I think it's transformed the most of any song. I mean, maybe you could argue like I've Just Seen a Face or one of the Beatles songs, but it's quite a bit heavier. It's slowed down a lot.
Yes.
Vocally, you're right. I mean, obviously he's doing all of the same falsetto stuff from the record, but there's a raspiness, so much control over the way he's letting his voice crack in certain parts, which he doesn't really do on recordings, but of course live around this time it captures something that was really part of the stage presence. And then a great ending that was never in the song because it kind of faded out and sort of was a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
he's giving you a sense of finality with the false ending and then delivering this final reworked, I think it's a new chord progression where he says that Maybe I'm Amazed stuff.
It's got the 2-chord descending kind of ending, which
and gives Jimmy McCullough a chance to
really magnificent.
Do some fills and everything.
Yes,
there,
yes.
Yeah. He has played it this way live consistently ever since, so he really did a live arrangement that he's stuck to for it. The B-side is Soily, which, going back to kind of the old school approach to a single, this was never put on an album. It was written, I think, in 71. It was performed a little bit in 72 and 73, along with The Mess, which was another live-only song. And in 76, they brought it back and sped it up and used this as an encore at certain shows. This is one of my favorites. It just sounds like an engine as it's kind of kicking off with the guitar stuff and Paul's vocal acrobatics doing the oh yeah, and the ending too, that scream. Some of those notes are really crazy. Also, it's one of the heaviest Wings songs. I think this, along with like Beware My Love and maybe Call Me Back Again or something, the bass is just pumping where he's hitting these like 3-note scales, these little triplet things. Joe English is killing the drum part on this. He's doing, I think it's double bass pedal in that one section in the final verse, and he's just all over these ride cymbals in a way that I can't believe it's even mic'd this well in 1976 to hear it so clearly. There's wah-wah pedal, it really sounds like a heavy jam band.
Yeah, both songs, Maybe I'm Amazed, and this flip side, this Soily, really gives the lead guitarist Jimmy McCullough a chance to stretch out a little bit. And it's powerful. It matches everything. I mean, they're just perfect, beautiful, hard-edged fills.
But just like a true jam band, nobody really ever takes the focus for too long, right? It's like you're kind of paying attention to the dynamics and the driving energy of the song, right? And it's like, and it goes on probably a bit too long. It's over 5 minutes, and it's like 6 minutes with a minute intro in the beginning of the crowd noise. And so, yeah, it's a jam song, which Wings didn't have many of. And I think this is kind of exploring the true potential of what McCartney would have been like in a super band. It's tapping into his potential as a stage performer. It's like, he's more comfortable than I think the early shows where he's kind of planted and worrying about the way it sounds. This is where like he's stage presence. I mean, he's marching around the stage and almost jumping around in a way that you only see in, like, I don't think we even saw it with early Beatles. I think we read stories about it. So he's a little bit loose as a frontman and more like a Mick Jagger personality. And like personally, I wish he pursued that a little more in the second half of Wings. I think that was the world missed out a little bit on that side of him. You know, he likes to be with a band, and clearly he's more comfortable there, but he's a great frontman. And like a true McCartney move, where after the most psychedelic thing ever, Magical Mystery Tour, they do the White Album. It's hard to believe that after this huge stage performance and ensemble with the brass and with, you know, playing to 40,000 person crowds and doing these long jams, the next single is Mull of Kintyre, which is pretty unbelievable.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, McCartney loves the unexpected and kind of the contrast, I think. And so I think this is the edgiest version of McCartney you get in the 70s, especially vocally. And so it's going to be interesting to see Mull of Kintyre next.